video I'm making for this group that I'm about to post up in, but I figure I'd put it on Facebook too. Now, some people claim that saying race privilege exists. Some people are saying that this is only said by people who are racist, or people who aren't doing shit with their life and shit like that. But I'm gonna break it down to y'all why some people don't want to hear it, but I'm gonna also break it down to y'all why it needs to be acknowledged. For one, no race has all rich people in it, and everybody's life is hard. So when you start talking about this privilege that does exist, a lot of people ain't trying to hear that. They like, shit, I'm struggling in life. I ain't trying to hear that shit, and I don't blame them. You know, I don't blame people who they like, man, ain't nobody trying to hear about no privilege, man. My life is hard as fuck. I'm struggling. I get it. And I get why they don't want to hear that. But that still doesn't mean it doesn't exist. That's my gripe on it. It's not that I'm not the type of guy that's going to talk about it, because God's got me either way. Plus, you know, somebody don't have to be my race for me to be blessed by them, for them to give me an opportunity. But at the same time, don't act like somebody that's not my race can't stop me from an opportunity. It's very possible. Matter of fact, it could be somebody of my race. They'd be like, I'm not hiring that other guy because they're not the same color as me. So it can go the other way too. But you have to look at who rules the world. You have to start there. Now, of course, people of that race, them races that rule the world, if they're struggling in life, hell no, they not trying to hear this race privilege, because they struggling. But that don't mean it don't exist. You see what I'm saying? See, they're confusing when people say there's race privilege. People are confusing that with somebody saying that everybody's your life is easier automatically. Nah, that's not the case. I think my life is in a better position than a lot of people who are not my race. But that still does not mean that the privilege does not exist. Somebody like Jay-Z, in order for them to get higher up, you know what I mean, on that ladder, they have to go to somebody of those races. They can't just do it themselves. What do you call that? Is that not privilege? How come Jay-Z can't just use his own money and do it himself? Why you got to go through somebody like their God, right? Another thing I keep hearing is this slave thing. Everybody was servants to their own race. They was not treated like dogs and animals. I'm not going there with nobody no more. You know, that's disrespectful, you know, to 700 million people who have allowed America and us to be free and live off of the fruits of the labor of America, off of them dying. 700 million. So when a person says, oh, no, everybody was slaves, that's a slap in 700 million slaves. You know, most of them got robbed, raped, and all that, thrown off of boats and everything, for you and me to live in America fruitful. So that's disrespectful. I'm not trying to hear it. You know what I mean? It's bullshit, honestly. It's also bullshit that you got to stand for the flag, but nobody honors these slaves. Every race should be honoring these slaves, because every race has benefited off of the fruits or the life of those slaves. Every last race. Not one hasn't. If you live in America, you've benefited off of that. Right? So why we need to acknowledge that. We also need to acknowledge that there is a privilege thing. Now, the problem is, you have people of that race that are struggling, man, so they not trying to hear that. I don't blame them. You know, you could have a person that she might try to get welfare, and then somebody in my race might get it and she might not. You know what I'm saying? So nobody's here saying that my life is so much harder because I'm a certain race and your life is easier. No. I never said that. Believe me, everybody's life is hard. Everybody's out here working, you know, blood, sweat, and tears. Everybody, except for maybe if you're the rich that own the whole world. Maybe they're the only ones that, because they living off of us. Other than that little small percent, everybody else is out here busting their ass, man, trying to make it in life and struggling. So ain't nobody knocking that. But that don't mean that if you take one guy that's my race and then you take another guy that is a race of the people who rule the world, and we both go apply for a job. If that guy don't like people who look like me, he gonna hire that guy. He not gonna hire me. That's privilege. If a cop sees me and he thinks that I'm doing something wrong, and the other guy, he don't suit it, that's privilege. A little boy getting shot for nothing, and another guy gets took into McDonald's after blowing up a school, killing all kind of races of people. That's privilege. How can people ignore that? How can you ignore that and let that skate by? That has to be addressed, because the dude that killed the people in the school killed all races of people. So now you ignoring the fact that you got somebody who murdered somebody over this little, I want to protect this little thing and act like this privilege doesn't exist. See, it's not about the privilege, it's about the effect that it has on people in their lives. I'm a win regardless. So you not see, they like to say that only people who are struggling are complaining. I'm not struggling in life at all, right? And so I'm not even complaining about it. I don't worry about it because, like I said, God's got me. But again, to say that this shit doesn't exist, that's a lie. It even exists in basketball the opposite way. They're going to draft somebody of my race faster, way more faster than another dude. Another dude might be better sometimes. That's privilege. It still exists. But on a global scale, we talking about a whole different thing. That's just sports. Right? All I'm saying is it shouldn't exist at all. People shouldn't be racist at all. That's all I'm saying. But how is this ever going to happen? It has to be exposed. People have to admit that there are people out here who practice this privilege. You might not. You might be against it. That don't mean there's other people that ain't. How's that right? How's that right? It's not right. If the shoe was on the other foot, I wouldn't be saying that it doesn't exist, because I know it does exist. And I don't want it to exist, therefore I'm not going to defend it. Now I think a lot of people who say that this doesn't exist is some people who are either they have it real hard in life or they fucked up their life. Or they just simply, maybe they're racist and they don't care. But they know it exists. You know what I mean? They know it exists. But I'm not saying people, just throw your life away and make it better for other races of people because you have more privilege and all that. No, I don't really give a damn, because it's not going to stop me either way. God's got me. I'm not worried about no privilege. You know, God is privileged, so I'm not worried about it, right? But that don't mean it don't exist, y'all. Y'all got to stop with this bullshit, man. You know what I'm saying? That's all. That's all I got to say about it, man. Because I get tired of people sometimes acting like that people are making this shit up. I mean, until you walk in my shoes, you have no idea. You have no idea what it's like for people to lock their doors, not want to hire you because you look a certain way, police watching you and all that bullshit. Again, Jay-Z, perfect example. Jay-Z has to go to certain people to get certain things. If he wants a certain deal, I want to try to do this. He got to go to certain people because he's not privileged. They run shit, that's why. But why can't Jay-Z just do it himself? Why is that? Don't let this shit divide y'all, man. But at the same time, I understand why people have a problem. Like, if your race runs the world and you still struggle in life, which they do, I wouldn't want to hear that shit either. Now that's fine. I get it. That's why I don't say it. You know, I get why people don't want to hear it, but to act like it doesn't exist, that's where I have a problem with it. You know, don't act like it don't exist, because it's just going to stay there. It's never going to go nowhere. That's my issue. My issue is not that people don't want to hear it. I don't blame them. Why? Because their life is just as hard, man. Their life ain't easy. They go out, they work just like everybody else. Yeah, they might have privilege on their side. You know, they might have a little advantage on their side in 9 times out of 10, you know, cases. But who wants to hear that shit? I wouldn't. On the other hand, though, if it's brought up, don't act like it don't exist, because now you're part of the problem. And again, why does this matter? Because if you're the privileged race, right, and a kid, see, I can kill 1 million people, I can kill a bunch of people in the school, and I'll get taken to McDonald's. This is a problem. Or I'm a cop. I could just kill somebody of that race and get away with it. That's a problem. That's why it needs to be addressed. Not the little, my life is harder than yours bullshit. Nobody care about that. You know, you, for the most part, have the almost the same opportunity. Not quite, but you still got a good opportunity. With God, opportunities unlimited. He'll put the right, it could be somebody other race. He'll put that person there that's not racist. And that person might give you a better opportunity in life or help you, who knows. But when you start acting like this privilege doesn't exist, more cops are going to keep killing people for no reason. More kids are going to say, I look like this race and I can go into school and kill some of the people that look just like me too. See, that's the part that people don't look at. They ain't even acknowledging that part. They so worried about no, you're wrong. I'm not privileged. They not worried about the little kids getting killed over the fact that, or any little kids killed by cops or going to school and blowing up a school. They not
in 1,000 feet, slight left onto East Seminary Street.
So that's why I have a gripe with it, man. People don't understand sometimes what they defend, they don't understand the effects of it, man. Because they so worried about the argument. It's not an argument. Who gives a damn? I understand why people don't want to
take the next left onto East Seminary Street.
I understand why people don't want to hear, you're privileged, because they looking at their life like, man, shit, my life a struggle, man. My life hard as hell. So that's why I don't come to people at that like that. But when topics of like cops killing people and shit, you got to bring this up because that's the only way.
In a quarter mile, turn right onto South Main Street.
That's the only way the shit's going to get addressed, exposed, and fixed. If we just sit back and say, nah, I don't exist, you're lying, man. My life is just as hard as you. It's not going to get fixed, man. All right? That's all I got to say, man. That's my main problem. The cops and shit that get away with shit that they shouldn't. That's all. Y'all have a good day, man.